Dr. Batra spoke about sustainability, quality of life, and taking cue from there, in the morning we had spoken about various facets of real estate, from finance to technology to trends, insights. One aspect that we need to talk about in real estate, which is very important, is the design and sustainability. As a lot of you out here are into the developments and are, I'm sure, being awarded also for these aspects. So we have two eminent experts in these fields, designer Abhishek Dutta, who will talk about how architecture is becoming very important when we are talking about design. And it's not only about design and buildings, but also about the sector as a whole and probably as the economy for the country. And then also Santanu Datta Gupta, who will be talking about sustainability, because you, not only in India, but also in Bangladesh and Vietnam, you have been consulting on various green projects. Let me start from the very basic, Abhishek. We all here have our own perception of what architecture is, what design is, what building design is. You as an architect, what does architecture mean to you?
Good evening. It's actually a very difficult question to sum up in a limited time frame like this, because architecture, if you go by book, will tell you about the art and technology of designing buildings, habitats and all. But while an architect become an architect, they realize at the end of the day, we serve people to stay happier. So more or less, as I have been growing, because I was in college and all, that time if you had asked me, I could have told you about the interesting forms, the gigantic scale of projects, the way we kind of impact people's lives through creativity and all. But more I age also and understand little better, I feel architecture is all about understanding the person for whom you are working. Yeah. It's all about creating space which lifts your emotional part of life, because every space that you are occupying, whether that's even outside the building, even the landscape zones, everything impacts you. And they say, Winston Churchill once said, I believe, you shape your buildings and thereafter it shapes you. Yeah. Yeah. So it's very, very important role for architects to understand what exactly the person mean, and architecture is just to respond, to become an extension of the human life itself.
Yeah, it's a response to the human need, human life, and at the end of the day, to make the user happy. That's Absolutely. What architecture, Abhishek Datta says. Shantanu, we all talk about sustainability. Again, we all have our own definitions of sustainability. You as an expert, if you have to give in 2 words or 2 lines, what sustainability means?
First of all, thank you very much for having me, and thank you very much for generous introduction. I'm not an expert. I am learning this business for last 17 years. I'm a student of real estate. Now, it is very, very confusing sometimes, that sustainability, what is sustainability? There is no real definition of it. But to me, basic necessities of human being, which we need for our survival, for our existence, and for our well-being, directly or indirectly comes from Mother Nature. So we have our responsibilities to add value or add positive impact to environment, to social, and to economic, for a better future. If you consider animal and plant kingdom and biodiversity, environmental, social, and governance will drive the business of real estate in coming 15 to 20 years.
That's right. ESG, like what we call environment, social, and governance. And a lot of companies are now looking at triple bottom line, where it's not only the profits in terms of monetary, but also social profits that they are looking at. Coming back to the design aspect, Abhishek, we are in the age of specialization. We have everything is specialized field now. We have lighting consultants, we have landscape consultants, we have acoustic consultants, we have interior consultants. What is the role of architect now?
It's the most fun question one can answer, because what I used to tell my students that architecture is the last general subject. So if you are reading the newspaper in the morning, there is something to learn from. If you are reading a novel, you have something to learn from. If you are looking at a movie, you are seeing somebody quarreling in a movie, and you don't look at the events going on, you look at the background, So in architecture, just like a filmmaking, there are a lot of people working, around these things. But at the end of the day, you have to have a captain of your team who will look after each and everything and tell you and in order to appreciate if some of your consultant is doing a good job or not, you have to have a generalized idea of your overall vision of a project. So each and every consultant nowadays, it's not only limited to the people who are into the design team, but also you have the project team, you also have the developers, finance team, the marketing team, you have even post-occupancy evaluation team. After delivery of a project, you have a facility management team. The architect responds to each and every stakeholder's need. We respond to the legal, the changes. Every time there is a new rule comes up, architects are the first people to take note of all these things. And after doing all these things, the end outcome, if anybody kind of messes up, the responsibility of the architects will be at stake.
He's the signing authority.
He is the signing authority of everything. And he can actually appreciate the good work by giving it, it's also the casting director of the thing. For the real estate project, when it comes to the design part, we believe it's not only the architect, even the real estate developer plays a role of an architect, because he conceptualizes one idea before he selects an architect.
Correct.
On the basis of his vision.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So architect in that way, each and everything is related to it. And last
architect still remains the captain of the ship.
Absolutely.
And jack of all trades.
And master of some, hopefully.
Master of some, yeah. Similar question to you, Santanu. We are talking about green buildings, and we see a lot of green buildings, whether it is residential, commercial, across the country. But what about the other segments, whether it is hospitality, manufacturing, warehousing now, healthcare? What about green buildings? Are there green buildings coming up in these segments as well? Or
A lot of actions are going on. See, now, as far as Calcutta is concerned, our new landmark is ITC Royal Bengal.
right.
So I don't want to name anybody, but yes. So people are building responsible luxury hotels. And I closely work with manufacturing segment. I personally work with 1,500 plus manufacturing projects, export-oriented manufacturing projects. And I closely work with 450 plus accounts. So giving an example of textile industry, by 2027, we have a target of being 100 plus billion USD export industry for textiles only. So our neighbor, Bangladesh, which is one of my territories, they are clocking 49 billion already. And we have certified, I'm from US Green Building Council, so we have a brand called LEED. We have certified 253 projects, specifically 211 factories, garment manufacturing factories, because buyers, if you're talking about, US or Europe buyers, Inditex, Zara, Marks and Spencers, they appreciate responsible sourcing. So they will only buy from the sustainable factories. That is also happening in India. So textile is booming. So manufacturing warehousing, because it is not about the manufacturing only, it is about the global value chain. That is why a lot of actions going on in warehousing sector. Somebody was mentioning Xander, it is our project as well. So in Calcutta, you'll see a lot of actions in healthcare, in hospitality, because people are traveling more than ever, and manufacturing and warehouse. So they are going for
So it's
green.
the client demand which is driving this. So for
Yeah.
other sectors also, the
Yeah.
clients are demanding
It
that,
is.
and then it makes profit sense also, especially if it is hospitality.
Yes.
If it brings down your energy bills and water bills, of course, then green makes sense. You've been, both are veterans of the industry, building and construction sector. If I have to ask you, what are the three major changes that you have seen which have created paradigm shift in the sector? What could be those three changes over the years which have been, both of you, you can take it first, so.
Like for more than 100 years, I find our sector particularly has been going in a hackneyed way. Nothing much has changed apparently from outside. There were random attempts made to uplift the technological use in different sectors. But if you look at aviation sector or any other automobile sector, there are groundbreaking technological advancement which has happened. But when it comes to construction, we are more or less building same old, like 200 years, the way we used to build. We are almost building with the same kind of thing. But recently, we have seen there are 2-3 things which has happened. One of them is after globalization, there are a lot of materials which become suddenly easily available, which you only used to see in movies in Hollywood and all. Those has come to our existence. And because of this Netflix and other thing, our clients have started discussing about, I need that kind of thing in my bedroom. So somebody travels a lot today, they visit some airports and finds a stone fascinating, and they want the same stone to be there in their living room. So the demand has kind of shifted, but to me, those things are majorly a superficial treatment sort of thing. You can't make somebody beautiful by applying different kind of paints on their face. The inherent quality of the space, it is being talked less about. Because if you look at our traditional buildings, I mean, the places which really moves you while you travel, you find it's not the material. Because we are talking about ITC Royal, but if you go to ITC Shonar, on the other hand, you see very, very commonplace materials like Kota stone and the wood and glass and all these simple materials. Just by the quality of space, the special dimensions, the way we change with head to ceiling ratio, we create a feeling. Same like the use of raw concrete and things. Now, because architecture is more or less happening with the younger generation especially, it is becoming, even I'm talking about the architects, it's becoming Pinterest-based collage of different imageries. You just, your client comes with 15 images and say, I need this kind of table, this kind of things. So these changes, because earlier, whatever the architect used to give, the client used to get fascinated because they have never seen such a good perspective or 3D views earlier. But now things are people are becoming demanding, they are becoming more aware. And that's why the architects are, especially the architects who addresses the end users. And when the market is kind of also getting into the end user driven instead of investor driven, because investor, to be very honest, they hardly too much bother about the quality of the space. They would rather quantity, kitna square feet mil raha hai, kitne paise mein, ye unko chahiye, how much return on investment they will be getting. But while you are finding people who are going to be the end users are buying properties, these all things are impacting the way we start any design.
So it is the global exposure probably which is
Exactly.
creating a lot of shifts in the sector. Santanu, if I have to ask you, what would you say has been the game changer for the sector?
Well, as far as sustainability is concerned, there are three. First of all, technology, IoT platforms. Data is the key. Data is driving the sustainability business, because we say in a building, if you cannot measure anything, you cannot improve it, right? So green building certification system used to be a kind of pen and paper documentation. Right now, we have open API, cloud-based platform, which is plug and play. You can plug that system with your BMS, or if you do not have a BMS, you can actually incorporate data. So data is everything. Data is gold or platinum, whatever it is. It is driving the business. And next is the frameworks. After COP27 or COP28, ESG has been mainstreamed in India also. So we know about BRSR of SEBI for 1,000 top listed companies. Eventually, sooner or later, it will come for everyone. You have to report your sustainability initiatives, and it will be more transparent. So we will give it back to environment, to society, and good governance. That is transparency. And last but not the least, policy and advocacy. The policy framework which has been developed by the local government, let me tell you, Calcutta is the pioneer in green buildings, if you're talking about, in terms of giving incentives. Now, we have our third green building of India in Calcutta, which is Technopolis, first in this part of the world, which is USGBC LEED certified. And also in 2014-15, the government has announced 10% additional FAR for gold and above green buildings. So to appreciate, the movement, government has done fantastically well. So these three things actually change the ballgame.
Data, transparency, and government initiatives, government policies, and as Abhishek said, the global exposure to the end user are some of the biggest game changers for the design and architecture and real estate sector. And we in fact have Minister Shrikant Bhatta also here, who will be talking about the policy changes. He's the Minister for Consumer Affairs. Lastly, before I let you go, what is your outlook, Santanu, for the future for Indian design and construction sector? In one sentence, if you have to say, what is your outlook?
It will be an investor-driven industry, and a lot of FDIs are coming. If you're talking about real estate, we are not only talking about homes and commercial buildings, we are talking about manufacturing. South and Southeast Asia will be the manufacturing hub in next 15 years, okay. And a lot of FDIs are coming. So, and investors are well aware and appreciating people to go green. Obviously, this frameworks, ESG is a key factor. So a lot of actions, yes. You will see.
India will see a lot of action is what Santanu is saying. Abhishek, what do you have to say? What is your outlook for Indian economy, Indian real estate in particular?
See, what I feel is like wherever there is a development happening, there are things which doesn't reflect in the balance sheet of a company. Because the kind of environmental impact that we are giving, the way, like, for example, if you are painting your building a nice color, it's your neighbor who are going to be benefited more than yourself, right? If you are breeding mosquitoes in your backyard, it's not you who is going to suffer. It's not only you might suffer, but you are also impacting others. So now these externalities are, because of the government policies and the way awareness is growing, I can see these externalities are now started to become, the marginal cost is being calculated everywhere, and now people are taking care of all these things, becoming aware, and you have tradable carbon credits. Shantanu will be able to elaborate on those things. Those things are making the things which is good for the society, good for the projects as well, by creating an environment of investment which is eco-friendly, which is much more sensible. Because if you ask me, not building a building is the best building possible, right? Correct. If whatever real estate people are selling, all these fantastic people are selling, if you look at the ad, they will sell everything that they are not building. They will give you a window and allow a vision of a lake or a fantastic park, a greenery. That's what is being sold.
One last word, sorry to cut you. That, Gen Z and millennials who will be buying or taking offices, they're extremely concerned and extremely well aware of sustainability. If you ask, Parvez Bhai is here from CBRE, there is a report of CBRE, I closely work with CBRE, that, before taking any job offer, Gen Z and millennials are asking where I'm going to sit Okay, is my building or office building sustainable? Similarly, home buyers, because they will be buying in future, right? So sustainability will change the game. It has already
In
changed.
fact, after COVID, people realized home is not about square feet. The balcony we used to use only for, drying your clothes are now a place to celebrate and have proper tea. So there are two types of building which I believe is being built. One is to survive, another is to live.
Yeah.
So now, as a user-driven society where the end users are dictating the market terms, the kind of projects which are going to come up, I feel we are going to build more and more livable spaces which makes people happier.
That's great. So I think the takeaway from this conversation, a very, very crisp conversation that we have had is that the outlook is that we will be creating livable spaces, sustainable spaces, and as Dr. Batra said, be kind to your, kindness. We should have kindness, showing kindness, and yes, as Santanu rightly said, the younger generation is very much aware of social responsibility, of environmental responsibility. So that's a good, future that I think we have in terms of our next generation and in terms of our veterans who will be guiding them. So thank you, Abhishek. Thank you for sharing your experience and expertise, and Santanu for sharing that very valuable information. Thank you so much for being here with us and for giving us this very
Thank
unique
you for
information.
all of
Thank you.
giving us the decent hearing. Thank you so much.